Welcome in, everyone, to the Point Spread here at fantasypoints.com. Joe Dolan, Tom Brolley, week 17 of the NFL season. I know it's a fantasy football for everybody, fantasy football championship weeks, but hey, maybe you got eliminated, or maybe you're playing with house money. Maybe you've made your championship, you get a payout for that. Maybe you've locked up most points in your league, you get a payout for that, and you're just like, hey, guys, I'm going to let this ride, man. I'm going to put some bets down. We're here to help you. T-Bro, what's going on today? Tom, last week, somebody must have been upset. I don't know that we didn't get started right away. He said, what's the BS? Too much BS.
Well,
what are the spreads?
It was, just a minute or two off here. So I'm sorry we had to pull you away from the Clemson game. I know you're a season ticket holder. I saw they just went up.
Yeah, they did score.
Game in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl over there. So no, I'm doing pretty good. The great night for fantasy points. Alex hit another same game parlay. I hope people are tailing that. Not nailed our Thursday night special with Tyler Conklin. John did pretty well with his player props. So that was kind of an unexpected game. I did say on the radio that I did think this game could be a sneaky over. I did not expect a over in the basically the first 20 minutes or so, or whatever it took to get over that 33.5. So a bit of an exciting start to week 17 here, but this is a loaded Sunday schedule. I don't know if you're ready for it on the radio show there, Joe.
Oh, God.
1 p.m. games.
Paul Kelly texted me last night and he said we have 10 1 p.m. games. I don't even know how we're going to follow along with all of that. That's going to be next to impossible. But hey, hopefully everybody gets a little bit of money here. And Tom, let's start with the Saturday night game. It's Monday Night Football on Saturday night. So it's going to be Buck and Aikman and all that. We've got Detroit at Dallas. This is a fascinating handicap. Dallas is laying 4.5, 5.5. 52.5, 52 the total. This is some Detroit money here because I think this opened at 6 or got to 6 very quickly. The Lions 6-1 to the overs in their last 7. They've won back-to-back outright and against the spread. Dallas has been an under team of late, and also has not covered a game in their last 2. They were favored against the Dolphins and lost on the road. What's your read here, Tom? Do you have a feel for the Lions and the Cowboys? Interesting handicap.
Yeah, I actually gave this one out earlier this week at +6, taking the Lions here. I don't see, I have like maybe a point and a half difference between these two teams if it's a neutral field, but certainly upgrade the Cowboys a lot. They've been playing very well at home. So, I thought maybe it should be about 3.5. So I thought there was a lot of value here. It did get up to like 6.5 for a moment on like Tuesday, but it's been steadily some Lions money here over the last 48 hours or so. So this line has gotten down below that key number of 6, but keep an eye on it. Maybe that Dallas money will come rolling in here on Saturday before the game. Total is shot up here, 52.5. Probably the game of the week in terms of points to be scored here. So so I do like the Lions here. The run defense for the Cowboys has been a little bit of the storyline here the last couple of weeks. Jonathan Hankins, it looks like, will be out again. So I think that's going to be the game plan for the Lions, and ties into the one player prop I've hit in this game. I took Jahmyr Gibbs over his rushing yards. He's been flying over his player prop total. Basically 8 out of his last 10 games, he's gone over his rushing total. So just need the Lions to keep it somewhat close here. Don't need to fall behind by multiple scores, and I think he can get over his rushing yards prop. He's been breaking off some big runs. If you want to look at his longest rush prop as well, he's averaging 5.7 yards per carry, and I do like this matchup. Just need to get him to like 10 or 11 carries here in this game.
Yeah, and the Lions have run on basically everybody this year. It doesn't matter what the defense is. Of course, Rico Dowdle rolled out, and Tony Pollard's prop is still at 58.5.
Nope.
I have no interest in any Tony Pollard.
I was hoping it might go up. I would have pounded the under. I don't see Pollard having much success. The Lions run defense has been, if not the best, one of the best stop units. Really forced teams to throw the ball. So probably why the total has gone up a little bit as well. It's probably going to have to be a pass heavy game for the Cowboys in this one.
Do want to throw out like kind of a fantasy take here, Tom, and just before we move on, when I consider all the circumstances this year, all of the fact that he stayed relatively healthy, and look, I understand he broke his leg back in January, that could be a factor, but he's in a good offense, no Zeke, his role is really good. Tony Pollard is one of the bigger fantasy busts I can remember. When you look at Bijan. All right, Bijan's kind of a bust because Artie Smith's an idiot. Well, you look at Keenan Allen got hurt. Austin Eckler got hurt. Jonathan Taylor got hurt. Just Tony Pollard had everything. Like, if I were to tell you before the season, Tony Pollard's playing 17 games, where are you drafting him? You might make him a top 3 pick in fantasy.
Yeah, and this kind of role, I mean, they didn't remember all offseason and early in the season. Why don't they go out and make a move? Bring in a bigger back here. Yeah. And they never did it. They stuck by their guy, and he did not reward him for it. I know he even said a couple of weeks ago that he's like, "Oh, this is the healthiest I've been." And that really hasn't, proven to be true here. He has looked like the same guy. Maybe he might even be getting worse as the season has gone on here. But I'm with you. If you would have told me before the season how everything is played out here, I would have said he would have been a slam dunk top 5 pick.
Let's go to, we're starting out with the heavy hitters here, Tom. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore is laying 3.5 at home, 46.5 the total. Yet another MVP discourse game. Lamar Jackson seems to have taken the lead. If Tyreek Hill has a big game here, maybe he can get in the mix. If Tua has a big game, maybe he can get in the mix. But Baltimore 46.5 being the total. Miami is on an outright and covering spree here, as is Baltimore. So both of these teams have been money winners in recent weeks. Yeah,
I jumped up on the Dolphins Monday at +3. I thought, if Baltimore goes out there and loses to the 49ers and that this line could settle under a field goal. And that did not happen. They went out there and smoked the 49ers and picked off Brock Purdy 4 times. But this line really hasn't budged. I think my instincts were right that this game would have been under a field goal if Baltimore goes out there and loses in San Francisco. But it's kind of sat in this 3.5 point range. So a little disappointed I didn't wait. There have been 3.5s out in the market all week, but that's the game you play when you make a bet before the Monday games go off. But I still kind of really like the Dolphins in the spot. This is they have an extra day rest, no weather issues up here in the Northeast. It's beautiful right now. So normally you would think about the Dolphins heading up north in late December and have your concerns there. That shouldn't be an issue here. And it's kind of a tough spot for the Ravens. That was kind of their Super Bowl last week. Lamar was getting asked in the media, is this a preview of the Super Bowl? And they sure played like it was, the biggest game on the schedule. So played on Monday night out on the West Coast, didn't get out, probably didn't touch down at BWI until probably about 7 a.m. the next morning. So short week for them. Just curious if they're going to be able to get up for this spot again. Although you could say the same about the Dolphins. They, had a big game against the Cowboys, but they had a little bit more time to, put that one in the past and get ready for this week. And certainly both teams want this one. This is for the top seed in the AFC. So just a little disappointed that, we said at the beginning about the slate for Sunday. We have some trash 4:00 games. Why couldn't we flex this one, kick that Chiefs-Bengals game to the 1:00 window and move this one into the 4:25 window? But that's the way it is. Well, hopefully this one is showed quite a bit because this is the most fascinating game on the slate for me.
Yeah, did you hit anything in the prop market here, Tom? Obviously, if we're looking at Tyreek Hill props, going to be through the roof with no Jalen Waddle in this game, even though Hill obviously has been banged up himself.
Yeah, I did bet Zay Flowers under his receiving yards. 57.5 was the number I got it at. This prop has moved up 11 or 12 yards from last week. Was out of practice for the first 2 days of this week with a calf injury. A tough matchup with Ramsey and Xavier Howard. And he's been under this number quite a bit here in recent weeks. So He had the big blow up game last week, but don't necessarily love this spot. We haven't projected for 40 yards. That might be a touch low, but I'm not loving it here. And our fantasy points data package, we have a coverage grade, a wide receiver coverage grade, and one of the more negative matchups in that tool at negative 11%. So I'm going to fade Zay Flowers here, nursing a calf injury here.
Let's move on to the next game on the slate, T-Bro. We're going to go to New England at Buffalo. This is a fun one. Buffalo is laying 14 at home. 40 and a half is the total. Obviously, New England's got a solid defense, but everything else just kind of gross here. Do you have a play on the total or the spread? Buffalo minus 14 against the Patriots, T-Bro.
No, I lean towards the Patriots here for ATS poll purposes. If you can grab the 2 touchdowns, this one has moved. It has stretched out a little bit here. Patriots are nursing some injuries, and you kind of worry that a little bit of a tough spot. They had to play that Christmas Eve game out in Denver, and it was a pretty physical game. Went down to the wire. Buffalo had their flat spot against the Chargers on the Saturday night game, but back home here and a little bit of revenge on their minds. This is one of the games that when they were swooning there, they dropped it, and it's put them in this position where they're kind of playing behind the 8 ball, and they've dug themselves out of the hole. But I'm sure they would love to send Bill Belichick, maybe if this is his last season here with the Patriots, with one big old L in Buffalo one last time. But this Patriots team has, they've found ways to stay in games, even though with Bailey Zappi at quarterback. This defense is still playing at a very high level. It makes you wonder what this team would have been this season with just some, competent quarterback play. But I lean towards taking the points here. I feel like this spread is a little too high. The Patriots are finding ways to keep these games close with their defense.
Yeah, the Patriots, by the way, have covered 3 straight games. They were 2-10 ATS before that. So it feels like the lines are getting a little bit too high since they bench Mac Jones.
Yeah, and prop wise, I grabbed James Cook under his rushing yards. A little worried about it, but it was at 69.5 when I gave it out. It's been dropped down here about 65.5. I thought it should have been in like the 62.5, 63.5 yard range. So thought there was a little bit of value there. I do worry that since this is a 2 touchdown spread, that we could get a little extra, a few extra carries late in the game. But I also think, what we saw last week, we saw Leonard Fournette elevated for the first time. He got some work. Latavius Murray is still active. So maybe if they're in preservation mode, where we are deep into the season here and the postseason's right around the corner, maybe we give some of those bigger backs, those blowout, when they're milking the clock, maybe those guys get those type of carries. So I do think it was a little too high at 69.5. Still would lean towards the under here at 65.5. I thought it should be 62.5, 63.5. This Patriots run defense, our fantasy points data, second fewest adjusted yards before contact at 1.1 yards, and the 5th fewest rushing yards per game at 69.3 to running backs. So not an easy matchup here for James Cook.
But he needs to get it done in the passing game. He got a goose egg, and he didn't even get a target last week. That was obviously a massive
That whole
problem.
Game was 2 weeks.
Oh, that
in a row
was
here.
We've had some terrible fantasy game. Oh,
some weird scripts here for the Bills the last 2 weeks.
Oh, just a terrible fantasy game, and might have cost you your semifinal matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta and Chicago, Tom. Chicago's laying 2.5, 3 at home, depending on where you get your number. 37.5, 38 the total. The Bears against HB Heineke in Chicago. It was unseasonably warm last week for Chicago, but it looks like we could have some weather here for this game, including some potential snow for this one. Could be interesting for Atlanta and Chicago. Atlanta coming into hostile weather environment away from the friendly confines of their indoor stadium.
Yep, this line has been moving in the Falcons' favor. This is a dome team, plays down south, but it's kind of built around the run game. So interesting, spread movement here. I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive weaponry for Chicago here. Going to wait and word on DJ Moore and Looks like Cole Kmet's trending in the wrong direction. Darnell Mooney has a concussion.
Mooney's out. Yeah, Mooney's out.
So it seems like Moore will probably play here. He came back into that game and was kind of a decoy. For the end of that, they had a lead against the Cardinals, so no reason to throw him into the mix and throw him passes, and you have a big lead. But I think some of those injuries are what's driven this line down below a field goal. I like the Bears here. I've had the Bears power rated as a top 12 team here at this point. This is even in spite, I don't think Justin Fields is playing particularly well, but this defense is playing well, like their offensive weapons. So I have them, as a top 12 team. And I think they would kind of be an interesting team heading into the playoffs if they hadn't dropped some of those games early in the year. But they're looking to play spoiler here for the Falcons. Falcons are still alive here. And I do lean towards the Bears here in this spot, in the outdoor, a dome team that's playing indoors, taking them outside into the elements a little bit. And both these teams want to run the ball anyway. So yeah, I lean towards the 2.5 here with Bears.
In their last 9 combined games, by the way, 1 over for the Falcons and the Bears. And with the snow there, HB Heineke starting, Arthur Smith and his team not scoring a ton of points. I think you could still talk me into under the 38, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's the way I'd lean. Although I will say, Atlanta went up. I put it in my game hub. They went way more pass heavy than we've seen them go this season. So, they had a quarterback change, 5.1% last week. Previous high was 1.7%. So I don't think that was a coincidence with Taylor Heineke coming in the lineup.
Yeah,
so
he's dealing with an ankle injury too, though, by the way. I think he's going to play, but nonetheless, he is a little bit dinged up. Did you hit anything in the prop market here, Tom? Probably a little late to the window with all the questionable guys for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I did get Bijan Robinson over his receiving yards, tying into that a little more over pass, the pass rate over expectation last week. The Bears, we saw James Conner. I love this stat. James Conner had 17 catches for 39 receiving yards in his first 10 games this season, and then had 5 catches for 67 receiving yards and a touchdown last week in the passing game for the Cardinals. So this has been a Bears defense that we've been attacking with running backs in the passing game. They're giving up the most receiving yards per game at 59.1. Bijan's been at 26 or more yards in 4 of his last 5 games. And we saw last week they went a little bit more pass heavy. So that has me optimistic that we'll see Bijan Robinson active in this passing game again this week.
Let's move on to the next game. It's a rematch from a couple of weeks ago, and it was an entertaining kind of crap fest, quite frankly, Tom. Tennessee at Houston. Tennessee catching 4.5 on the highway, 4 depending on where you look. 43.5, 44 is the number. Injuries are the name of the game for the quarterbacks, because it's looking like we're going to have CJ Stroud versus Will Levis. Looks like Stroud will be back this week. Tom, I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's money coming on Houston because of that, but I'm seeing a 4 or 4.5 right now, 43.5 the total. What's your read on the side here with Tennessee kind of struggling a little bit here of late?
Yeah, I lean towards the Titans here to keep it close, getting a 4.5, but they have been a better team at home as opposed to the road, at least against the spread. This line has drifted up since the Stroud news started trickling out earlier this week. It was kind of at that 2.5. I think it was at around 3 when it opened up this week. So, as soon as we got some sort of confirmation that Stroud would play, that was the lean anyway. He did sit out the last 2 games, but it was also the lean last week and he sat out. So the line has drifted up here. I'd lean towards the Titans, but as you said, the injury reports for both these teams is problematic. Of course, we remember Derrick Henry 2 weeks ago had the 29
yards.
Yeah, 20 combined touches for 10 yards or whatever it was. But the defensive line for the Texans here is pretty banged up. Sheldon Rankins, Malik Collins, Jonathan Grenard. There's a lot of names on this injury report for the Texans. This has been up there among the best run defenses as well with the Lions and the Patriots. So it could be a little bit of an easier matchup here for Derrick Henry and the Titans. But I do lean towards the Texans here. They still have a chance here to win the AFC South. They're kept themselves in the mix. And prop wise, I did hit Nico Collins over his receiving yards at 59.5. We got Stroud back in the lineup. No Tank Dell. And he's been really good at home. I put the kind of the splits here in the write up on him, but has been up over 65 receiving yards in his last 3 games with Stroud, and 6 of 7 home games with Stroud at the quarterback. So he's been crushing this number, and a lot of those games were with Tank Dell early in the season. The concern is he back to full strength? It looked like a pretty limited player last week, although a lot of those limitations were because Case Keenum was at quarterback. But we get Stroud back. Nico was full practice, on Thursday at least. I haven't seen the practice report for today, but I would think that he's still trending up. So we look at the matchup. Tennessee's given up the most receiving yards to receivers out in the perimeter. So like Nico Collins, up over 59.5 receiving yards.
But this is where we're at with the Raiders right now. And this is honestly, I think this says way more about the Chiefs than it does the Raiders. The Raiders, fresh off a win in Arrowhead Stadium, are 3.5-point underdogs against an Indianapolis team that was lifeless last week. 42.5 the total. The roof will be closed. I saw Jim Irsay tweet that out. We don't know about Josh Jacobs. It looks like he's going to be a true game time decision. The Raiders have won back-to-back games. Tom, did you know Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass after the first quarter last week?
Oh, I'm aware. I was watching that game, and I did have a Jacoby Myers over receiving yards prop, and thank God he got 43 receiving yards on the second drive of the game, or else I would have been cursing at the TV the rest of the way as I watched Aiden O'Connell throw incompletion after incompletion, and then eventually just turned into hand the ball off to Zamir White on every play in the fourth quarter. So, I was aware of that. That was and I think that's probably why this spread is at 3.5. They're baking that in. O'Connell was a disaster in that game on Monday, or else I think this line probably would be like at least 3 and potentially under a field goal if they had a competent quarterback.
I'm looking at the prop market. By the way, Tom, do you have a lean here on the spread? Because
I'm still leaning towards the Raiders here. I don't think he is going to perform nearly that bad. And although this is another one of these teams that, Gardner Minshew is a different quarterback when he's playing at home compared to on the road. He does get Michael Pittman back this week. I think that was kind of why this line was sitting, at that 3-point mark for a lot of the week. And now it's 3.5 here at the end of the week. But I do lean towards the Raiders, dirtying this game up and, kind of keeping it close here. And, they've kind of had an upgrade at running back. We know they want to run the ball a lot, and Zamir White with some fresh legs here has been much more effective than Josh Jacobs the last couple of weeks.
We don't have any rushing props here, with the exception of Jonathan Taylor, Tom. Zach Moss ruled out, by the way. So
yep.
If you really like Jonathan Taylor in this matchup, you can run to the window. It's at 70.5 right now. Receiving yards props, Tom. Devontae Adams at 66.5. Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to get to the window after what I saw from Aiden O'Connell last week, but should also mention Michael Pittman's going to be back this week.
Yeah, I did take one of these props. I took an under on Josh Downs, under 38.5 receiving yards. This line is a little too high. It's 34.5 at some other books. That's at FanDuel. He's been averaging over his last 7 games. He's averaging 28 yards per game, and been under this number quite a bit. And Pittman is back in the lineup. Las Vegas is been pretty good against slot receivers, only giving up 67.5 yards to receivers aligned in the slot per fantasy points data. So he's a low ADOT kind of player. He could get 5 catches and still go under this number. And he hasn't been targeted a whole lot in recent weeks. So like Josh Downs, and this is, and we were talking about it earlier, I think this could be a game where, both these running games are, heavily featured here. So it could be an ugly contest here in Indianapolis. So I'd like Josh Downs under 38.5 receiving yards.
Carolina goes to Duval County, where there's currently a wild bowl game going on. You pulled me away from the Gator Bowl, Tom, and it's been absolutely outrageous right now.
What is the score of that? I need. Oh, 35-30. Holy crap.
Yeah, 35-30. The fourth
it was
quarter.
21-19 when we came on the air.
Yeah, it exploded in the fourth quarter. But Duval County is hosting, well, I don't know if this is another rip snorter. It's going to be Doug Peterson and Press Taylor carrying out Trevor Lawrence like Weekend at Bernie's at this one. I mean, he's I don't
hey, look, speaking of that game, he was on the sidelines there. He was looking happy and chipper with his Clemson stuff on there. So, I guess maybe he's have they made an official announcement on him? Is he actually playing, or are they keeping that one?
I don't know. I don't think they've made an announcement yet, but we'll see about him. Well, honestly, one good way to look at it is the prop market. But anyway, Tom, let's go to the number, which is 5.5, 6. The Jaguars laying that at home, depending on where you get that number. Obviously, 6 is a critical number. If you like Carolina, go find that. 37.5 is the total. 38, Tom. They are not expecting a lot of points. Carolina at Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence banged up, and it doesn't look like the markets really trust that Bryce Young's performance was anything more than inflated by the Packers defense last week.
Yeah, the Barry defense in Green Bay. But this is one we did grab early in the week. We got +7 with the Panthers. I haven't made. This might be my first bet on the Panthers this season, but I thought this number was ridiculous early in the week.
They've been a loser, Tom. They're 4-9
and since they changed coaching. They're 3 out of the last 4. So at least they showed some fight to come back in that game. As you said, the Packers, have been allowing opposing offenses to play above their normal threshold. So, but I still like the Panthers in this one. The Jaguars are trending in the wrong direction here. All kinds of banged up. We'll see about Trevor Lawrence here.
There's no Lawrence prop, by the way.
Yeah, and just the signs of this prop, it does. I mean, the spread here does seem like maybe there's some hint that he could sit here. Just the fact that there is some 5.5s out in the market. This has been a line that's just slowly trickled down all week. So yeah, I would probably grab the Panthers +6 now. Even if he does play, I don't know if it gets back to 7. So, so that's my lean here. I'm gritting my teeth here, and definitely, hey, red zone. We got 10 games going on at 1 p.m. Don't need to see this game a whole lot. I'll check the score at the end, and hopefully it's underneath that 7. It's a tight 1 possession game here.
Pretty thin prop market out there for this game with Lawrence questionable, Tom. But did you hit anything here in the early going?
No, obviously with the situation with with Trevor Lawrence, there's not a ton of stuff out there, and nothing that's really appealing either way. And the Panther side, nothing. I'm not jumping to betting overs on the Panthers here, so nothing on this market yet.
All right, Tom, I want your take on this line. I know Puka Nacua is dinged up. The Rams are at the Giants. The Rams are giving just 5.5. I'm a little surprised by that, but maybe I shouldn't be. Coming cross country for a 1 p.m. game. 5.5 is the line. 43.5 is the total. The Rams, who are one of I gotta say it, one of the hottest teams in football and in the betting markets, Tom. They've covered 5 straight games, and they're 5-1 outright in their last 6. So the Rams are a massive money winner of late.
Yeah, and anybody that follows my bets have been. This will be the 4th straight week that we're going to be on them. Unfortunately, I bet this Monday when it was at 6.5. I thought it would get to 7 if the Giant, up over 7 potentially if the Giants face planted on Monday evening on Christmas Day there. They did not, and it got worse. Tommy DeVito did face plant, which means they went back to Tyrod Taylor, which is the cause of this line movement here. It got down to 4.5 at one point earlier this week. So a significant line movement because of the switch from Tommy Cutlets to Tyrod Taylor. The betting market knows that, there's a significant difference between these quarterbacks. So unfortunately for us, for me, I bet the 6.5 early in the week. Now we have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, but I still obviously love this. I would love to bet it at 5.5 with the Rams. They've been treating us well ever since Kyron Williams came back. This offense has been clicking, and Giants have struggled to slow down opposing run games, opposing passing games, across the board here. They do have to go across the country, but at least we have 10 days of rest, leading up to this game. A lot of time to game plan for it. They played on Thursday night in week 16. On the other side, the Giants, that was a back and forth game with the Eagles. A lot of plays, were fired off in that game. And, that was kind of their little Super Bowl for this season. They're not going to have, another standalone game like that, and got the Eagles, their nemesis on, national TV on Christmas Day, biggest audience that they'll play in front of. So a chance that the Giants come out a little flat in this one. So I love the Rams again in this spot. Love it at 5.5.
Do you have anything in the props market here? Pretty robust prop market here, Tom. With Tyrod Taylor out there, I actually kind of like Darren Waller over the 38.5. I gotta be honest.
He burned me last week.
I know.
He had a couple. DeVito was pretty rough in that game, and had over 3.5 catches on him. I do like. I got Cooper Kupp minus 122 over 5.5 receptions. That was at FanDuel. I think it has been bet up a little bit. I think it might be minus 130 or so. But they've been giving up the 7th most receptions to receivers aligned in the slot per fantasy points data. 31.8 target share against man coverage. And he's got 6 catches in 4 straight games. So I'd like this spot again for Cooper Kupp to be very active here. Hopefully he doesn't drop so many passes like he did in that Thursday night game. Had a couple touchdown opportunities that he let slip through his fingers, but expecting a little bounce back spot here for Kupp.
Pretty wide range on the numbers here, Tom, for Arizona and Philadelphia. I'm seeing as low as 11. I'm seeing as high as 12.5. The Eagles laying at home against Jonathan Gannon, a Jonathan Gannon revenge game. I will tell you this, Eagle fans view this as an Eagles fans revenge game against Jonathan Gannon. 48.5 the total. The Eagles defense probably has played a little bit better in recent weeks with Matty Patty calling the plays, but they're still not finishing sacks. Had some trouble with Tyrod Taylor last week. Kyler Murray, though, coming into this game sick. He's going to play, but he's coming in sick. So a lot of factors at hand here, Tom, with the Eagles laying 11 to 12.5 against the Cardinals here on Sunday.
Yeah, very interesting. As you said, the Eagles are in this position with their defense because of Jonathan Gannon. Just reading a little bit of that stuff this week that, that they would have given him some sort of warning. They could have had Vic Fangio at defensive coordinator, and instead they're in their current predicament where they're, demoting at their DC midseason and, promoting Matt Patricia. So I'm sure they want to, maybe lay one on them, but I don't know if this Eagles team is, this is a team that's been backsliding for a while here, the last 5 or 6 weeks. And even last week against Tyrod Taylor, they couldn't, close that game out. And we'll see just how healthy, that would be my concern is this Cardinals team, they could send, put the stamp on it and send it in at any point here.
The Giants might have more offensive talent than the Cardinals right now. I mean, Marquise Brown's on IR,
wide receiver
pretty
is
bad.
Pretty barren right now. So going to be a lot of James Conner and Trey McBride featuring this one. I do lean towards the Cardinals just taking the points here. I don't trust this Eagles defense to close out, close the back door here per se there. So I would lean towards the Cardinals here catching the points.
That Gator Bowl, Tom, is going to end 38-35. Clemson scores a touchdown with 20 seconds left.
Dang. I actually had a Kentucky money line tied in a parlay. So, your boy took an L on that one.
Oh, yeah. Clemson scored with 20 seconds left. Sorry about that, team.
No, that's all right. I mean, I'm rooting for your team there, your season ticket holder.
They're my surrogate team. They're not my main team. But of course we picked the worst possible year to buy Clemson season tickets because we thought they're going to be a good team, right? And they had Notre Dame at home, they had Florida State at home, they had North Carolina at home, so we're going to be able to sell some of these tickets, and then of course they got off to the horrible start, and then Notre Dame had a down year too, so we couldn't even sell our Notre Dame tickets for a big killing. So it was And I got to be honest, I think Clemson's going to be good next year. Dabo rallied the boys pretty good here. Middle.
They started playing better in the second half of the season.
Yeah,
this game could be a little, a little arrow in their quiver there going forward.
Did you hit anything in the prop market for the Eagles and the Cardinals, Tom?
Nothing that really stood out to me.
I do like DeAndre Swift this week, by the way, but I think
I did give that out. Good, thank you.
His prop is pretty juiced up, I think now. 69.5, but I still really like him. I think they can run all over Arizona.
Yeah, I mean everybody's been running all over him. I got it at 63.5, so hopefully you got in on that. That was at -114 at FanDuel yesterday when I gave that out. So we have him projected for 78 yards. Been up over 74 yards in 4 of his last 6. So, and just looking at their victories, he's gotten to 14 carries in 9 of the 11 victories. So they tend to feed him the ball when they're, leading late. And yeah, this run defense, we saw Khalil Herbert rise from the dead last week in this matchup. So maybe this is the Swift week. I know Jalen Hurts is apologizing to him every time he does the tush push and steals a touchdown from him. But maybe nasty. This is the Swift week. Yeah, very nasty.
By the way, one thing that's actually making me feel better about Swift, and maybe this seems counterintuitive, is I got to be honest, I thought Hurts looked the healthiest he's looked in a while on that Christmas game, like in terms of his burst. And if teams have to respect Hurts's legs more, that helps DeAndre Swift, in my opinion.
All right, I like it. Let's add it. I add it to the handicap there. If Hurts is running better, that only helps the run game.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next. Oh my God, another 1 p.m. game. Oh, this is going to be.
I mean, it's the entire show is going to be on these 1 p.m. games.
I hope Scott Hansen gets a little white powder to help him through this slate. Holy crap!
We're going to have the quad box up the entire time.
Yeah, this is, by the way, an awesome game. In terms of playoff implications, New Orleans at Tampa. I do not like watching New Orleans. Don't get me wrong. I do like watching Tampa because Baker's playing awesome right now. And honestly, Tom, I feel like Baker's going to be their starter next year with the way we're trending right now. So, because he's got the boys. I think they're the most dangerous team in that division. 2.5. It's I don't see a 3 out there. 42.5. 42 is the total.
Yeah, I gave this one out. Yeah, I gave this one out today. I was waiting on it. Let's see what happened here. I'm on the Buccaneers. This is another team. I haven't been riding them as much as the Rams, but the last couple of weeks they've been good to me. So going back here, still think they're kind of underrated a bit here. And I think the Saints are overinflated. I mean, basically the books are telling us these two teams are very equal. If we take out the home field advantage, 1.5, 2 points. So, they're saying maybe a half a point difference between these two teams. And I just don't see it. I think this Buccaneers team is not a class above, but, at least a half a tier, maybe a tier above them. I really like the way that this offense is firing. I wrote a little bit about in the Game Hub that they're finally using Chris Godwin better, getting him in the slot a little bit more compared to how they were using him early in the season. So I like the Buccaneers here. We're going back to the well with the Buccaneers and going back to the well and fading the Saints. That's usually been a pretty effective way to, they're 4-10-1 against the spread. Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, ATS losers all the time. So we're riding with the Buccaneers here this week.
The Bucs hot against the spread. Even though they got off to a 4-8 start, they've won 3 straight against the spread. Tom, big news here on the Saints, just coming down the pike as we're talking about this game. Alvin Kamara is questionable with an illness. So I know the vid is going around here.
That has been something to keep an eye out even over this weekend. I feel like we might have somebody even pop up on a Saturday or Sunday here and be knocked out with an illness here. It's on quite a few injury reports here the last week or two.
So yeah, Tom, let's go to the prop market in this one for Tampa Bay. Obviously no Marshawn Lattimore. He and Mike Evans, mortal enemies, but we will not see him in this game. But did you hit anything else in this prop market?
Yeah, I hit Chris Godwin. Actually got a bad note. I got it 55.5. It's been bet down a little bit. But I like Godwin here. He's got 11 targets the last 3 weeks ever since, his wife was, bitching and complaining about his lack of targets. So Baker Mayfield has discovered Chris Godwin, 78 yards in back-to-back games.
Poor Baker always has family members.
Spouting off to him. So, I like Godwin here. 8 for 114 in this matchup back in week 4. And as I said, he's playing more in the slot, and this is where we attack the Saints in the slot, giving up the 13th most receiving yards per game to the receivers aligned in that spot per the fantasy points data. And I also gave out Chris Olave over 66.5 receiving yards. I am a little worried. This total is a little lower than I thought it should be. It's been sitting in that like 41 to 42.5 point range. So betting 2 overs in the passing game has me a little bit worried, but I thought Olave's number should have been in the 73.5, 74.5 yard range. We have him projected for 82 yards. He's been 94 yards in 4 of his last 5. And when we look at blitz, the Buccaneers blitz a lot. He owns team highs in yards per route run at 2.16 and target share at 27.2 when teams blitz Derek Carr. So, and they're giving up, the most receiving yards per game to receivers overall, this Buccaneers defense. So, this Olave line, 66.5 feels about 8 to 10 yards short to me.
San Francisco at Washington, another 1 p.m. game, Tom, and one we're probably going to be able to talk about the prop market at least pretty quickly, because we have a situation for Washington. Jacoby Brissett picked up a hamstring injury in practice, so they benched Sam Howell to go to Brissett, and now Brissett might not play anyway. He's questionable. Washington is catching 14 at home. Wow. 49.5 the total, 14 at home. You might get a 13.5 out there, but I presume there was some buy up on San Francisco as soon as that news came out that Brissett might not be 100% or might not be able to play. So it has hit the key number of 14. Can't imagine we've seen many 14-point home underdogs in recent years, Tom.
Yeah, and are you running to the window to bet the Commanders right now, playing a San Francisco team that's probably pissed off about what happened?
San Francisco might score 70 in this game.
I know. So, and you're right. This line did, once the Brissett news came out earlier today, it was sitting at like 11.5, 12. It initially kind of opened in this 13-point range, but once Brissett was announced as the starter, the markets, thought that Brissett was the better player than Howell at this point. So the line was 11.5, 12, but it has been bought up 13.5, 14, depending on where you're looking. So if you're looking to get on the 49ers, we probably won't get official word on Brissett until maybe tomorrow. I'm sure they want to see how he rests on it this week. But I would maybe want to get on the 49ers here because Sam Howell, I mean, he was a good fantasy asset for like the first 12, 13 weeks of the season, but he has hit the proverbial wall here. This is, he's not a rookie, but may as well have been. He didn't really play last year, so he does not look like the same player he was earlier this season. So I would lean towards the 49ers. That's the way I went with my ATS picks back when it was at like 12, but I'd still lean toward, anything under 14 here. I would lean towards the 49ers.
Yeah, thank you for talking for as long as you did, Tom. We've actually
More
had
news.
No, because I was looking up how many we have not had a team catching 14 at home this season. We had one last year. The Texans caught 14.5 and actually took the Chiefs to overtime last year.
Take the big dog at home.
Yeah, Houston did it. Jacksonville did it. And Jacksonville did it twice in the 2021 season and actually won both games straight up.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, there was some ridiculous, they were like 17-point underdogs or something. They
to the Bills, and the Bills just could not score. And then they got the Colts in the Carson Wentz meltdown game. They were 15-point underdogs in that game, and
season finale game. Oh, God,
yep. So
that was
those were the last
Steelers in the playoffs. I ended up doing like a parlay with the Steelers to win. I think they're playing the Ravens, and they ended up winning overtime. And then I parlayed it with the Jaguars. They were like plus, 10. It was 10-1 odds or whatever for the Jaguars to win that game. So I'm like, I'll do a Steelers parlay. We'll see if and it happened. It actually hit. So I remember that one very well.
Yeah. But this will be the first 14-point home underdog of the season, which shows you how rare it is. Tom, did you hit anything in the prop market here? I don't know if maybe something on the 49ers at least.
Yeah, I did actually. The Deebo Samuel over his 57.5 receiving yards. I grabbed that one. We haven't projected for 75 yards. Just looking at the fantasy points data, since the Del Rio firing in week 13, they've been using the second most too high safety coverage at 68%. And Deebo has been crushing that. He's been, 3.36 yards per route run and a 28% target share against that too high safety looks. So Ayuk is the one that kind of takes off the top. Deebo is the one that works underneath those two safeties and racks up the yards after the catch here. So of course we love targeting this Commander secondary anyway for player props. They're giving up the 14.8 yards per reception and the second most receiving yards per game to any wide receivers at 191.3. So just hope this game is competitive enough that Deebo gets enough work. Hopefully they're not running the clock out in the second half, but maybe Shanahan will come out firing the ball again like he did last week when he was trying to win Purdy the MVP instead of just winning the game against the Ravens.
Maybe now he's going to try to get Purdy his confidence back is what I'm wondering. Like after last week. So
this is certainly the matchup to do it.
Tom, you have to put in your odds widget for the Steelers at Seahawks game on your Game Hub. I have to tell you that right now because
I must have forgot to take one out there.
The Seahawks 3.5. Tom, are you a bad enough dude to take the Steelers catching 3.5 on the highway with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, 41.5 the total? Huge game for both of these teams right now. Pittsburgh at Seattle with Mason Rudolph, the quarterback.
No, I will not be betting this, but I do lean towards the Steelers here, getting that hook, that all-important hook. Seattle has, they're playing a little bit better here recently, but I like the Steelers to potentially keep it close here. So, not a strong conviction on this one, though. This is a game I don't really.
I have to interrupt, Tom.
Go ahead.
Two big pieces of news, folks. Josh Jacobs doubtful to play with the quad injury. Trevor Lawrence out. Trevor Lawrence will miss his first ever game to injury. They are not going to weekend at Bernie. They're gonna try to maybe get him ready for Week 18, but. Oh boy, two big pieces of news there, Tom. And so scratch some of our analysis from earlier with Lawrence, but I wonder if there's going to be some movement toward the Panthers now. Yeah,
we saw that. I mean, there was some 5.5 popping up when I was looking at it when we were talking about it. So must have been some lean there. So I do think I don't think it gets down to like 3, but I could see it getting down to like 4.5 with beat hard at quarterback for the Jaguars here, but. So yeah, if you want to get on the Panthers now would probably be the time. Hopefully you did it when we were talking about earlier in the show, but I'd lean towards the Steelers in this game plus 3.5, but not a strong conviction on this one. I don't really even have anything in the players prop market either. Not really, looking to, the George Pickens prop up to like 52.5 yards at some spots I saw. Not sure that he's going to have the same success going from the Bengals secondary that's been getting toasted all season to a pretty talented Seahawks secondary. But the one I was kind of considering, but I just couldn't pull the trigger was Tyler Lockett, 51.5 receiving yards. I do think we'll see Joey Porter Jr. on DK Metcalf in this matchup. I do think so that means we'll probably see a little bit more Levi Wallace. The weak link, one of the weak links in the Steelers secondary. But Lockett's been kind of hard to trust. He's been kind of all over the map with his production. He is coming off a pretty strong showing, a lot of targets last week against the Titans. But that was one I was leaning towards, but couldn't quite, bet.
Yeah, so I guess Trevor Lawrence, he was laughing and hooting and hollering at the Clemson game, and
there we are. I am seeing the books now. It's 3.5 at FanDuel.
Wow.
5.5 at DraftKings, but I'm sure that will be going down pretty soon. So
Tom. I mean, hopefully, I don't think we've seen a line move that big on our entirety of doing the point spread here.
No. We usually do it a little later in the day too. So this is kind of the prime window for these injury news to start coming out between 3 and 5. But yeah, quite a dip there. So yeah, hopefully read the article before watching the show here and got at least a 6 with the Panthers.
The Chargers go to the Broncos. The Broncos are laying 3 in the hook with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. They have benched Russ. Now, I guess Russ is going to be the backup, even though they're at a public war.
I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I
feel like he's going to be inactive, and they're going to send him home. It's just an unbelievably disgusting situation overall. Obviously, a terrible trade by the Broncos. I don't blame Russell Wilson for telling the Broncos to screw off when they asked him to void his injury guarantee. He signed that contract, and so did they. So, but obviously Russ, if he's playing somewhere next year, and I guess somebody will talk themselves into him, it will not be Denver. 3.5 the number, 37 the total. Tom, I have zero interest in this game whatsoever. Keenan Allen has already been ruled out. Josh Palmer's already been ruled out. Cortland Sutton, I didn't see anything on, but this could be bad. I just traded for Marvin Mims in our Superflex Dynasty League. I bamboozled it. Oh, God. I took Edwin to the woodshed.
Who'd you give up?
So what happened was before the game, when he sent me a panic trade offer because Amari Cooper got ruled out and he didn't want to use Joe Flacco. I'm tanking. I mean, I have 3 first-round picks next year, including the number 2 pick, I think. And I got to pick Kirk Cousins and Marvin Mims out of him for Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford could just implode at any point. So I don't have Matthew Stafford's not part of my future. I didn't swindle him. It's not a high pick.
No, not swindle. I'm sure he's going for the championship. So
of course. I said flex fly forever, man. But I wasn't going to do the trade without Marvin Mims. I wasn't going to do the trade without a young player. And hopefully, maybe Jared Stidham unlocks something with Marvin Mims here. Do you have a lean on the side or the total here, Tom, for Chargers and Broncos?
I was leaning towards the Chargers plus 5.5, and then the news came out, and I still ended up giving out the Chargers plus 3.5 in or staff picks. That's my lean for HTS poll purposes. But as you said, not a game I'm interested in playing here. I kind of want to see more of what happens than not. But I have to wonder, are we going to get, like, we've seen the new coach bounce? Are we going to get, because I didn't necessarily get the vibe that Russell Wilson was particularly liked much in the locker room. And, he's kind of a strange dude anyway. So, but then again, the way that Sean Payton's been kind of acting anyway, like he just cut Kareem Jackson last week. Just the whole movement overall, he's reshaping this line, So, I mean, the Broncos could quit at any point. We kind of saw them quit a little bit last week. We took advantage of that with the Patriots plus 7. But that would lean towards the Chargers. That, they at least showed a little bit of fight last week after firing Brandon Staley. I could see them wanting to get a win here, over a division rival here, but not a game that I'm particularly looking to invest much money in.
Did you hit anything in the prop market, Tom? I mean, here's the deal. Can Jerry Jeudy put together Jerry Aguilar, our boy Jerry Aguilar? Can he put together his first decent game of the season with Cortland Sutton maybe out of this game? Or I'm not wagering on Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I'm not. They have started to prop up, put some props out. I don't even see a Jeudy line. I guess they're probably waiting.
There is no Jeudy line right now.
Yeah, it's just I'm just seeing like Gerald Everett props, and he's at 42.5. Eckler props, so not a whole lot on the Denver side. So this game I'll be doubling back to later this weekend.
So the Week 17 best ball bros.
Yes,
if they've advanced this far. Well, their Week 17 stacks didn't work for this one, Tom. Cincinnati at Kansas City. Kansas City's laying 6.5 at home. And that just seems like a lot right now, given the way they've been playing. 43.5, 44.5 the total. Kansas City hosting Cincinnati, Tom. It looks like the Bengals might get Jamar Chase back in this game. There's actually a number out there for Jamar Chase against Kansas City. And remember, L'Jarius Sneed is dinged up. He's missed multiple practices, so they might not have their shadow corner. Interesting handicap here. Jake Browning getting humbled a little bit by the Steelers defense last week.
Yeah, he's played relatively well outside of, these Bengals, Bengals the last, their 2 down games both came against the Steelers with Browning at quarterback. This is another tough matchup here. I'm with you. I'm grabbing the points with the Bengals, even for how bad it looked last week. Was plus 7, plus 7.5 even. earlier in the week, but it has been coming towards the Bengals here ever since Chase showed up at practice on Thursday. I'm concerned that I could see him kind of, well, is he going to be a decoy? Is he going to, run his, full complement of routes? But then again, why would you trot him out? There's a pretty slim chance that you're making the playoffs anyway. Why jeopardize a player that's going to be pretty integral to your success in the future with Joe Burrow? But yeah, nothing really in this. Oh, no, I did hit something in this prop market. I'm buying the Travis Kelce dip here. I bet him over 59.5 receiving yards. Lowest I've seen it in a long time, and kind of lines up perfect here. We get a matchup with that Bengals defense that's been giving up production to tight ends all season long here. Pat Freiermuth came up flat last week, but that's more because the Steelers can't throw over the middle. But I'd like Travis Kelce over his receiving yards at 59.5. Cincinnati's given up the most receiving yards per game, 68.2 to tight ends. Got beat up by TJ Hawkinson a few weeks ago. So betting on Kelce having a little bit of a bounce back this week.
All right, Tom. The NFL is actually letting college football have New Year's Day to itself this year. There is no Monday night game. So the final game of the week will be Green Bay at Minnesota on Sunday Night Football. We have the Green Bay Packers catching 1.5 if the game's even on the board. I'm showing that they're off at some places. 43.5 the total. Jordan Love has been playing excellent without a full complement of receivers. It doesn't look like Christian Watson and Dontavion Wicks are going to play in this game. Jaden Reed will be back to go with Romeo Doubs. Minnesota is starting Jaron Hall at quarterback, Tom. Can't imagine this was a fun game to handicap for you.
No, I did think I may add the Packers later this week. I was thinking about that, but their way their defense is playing in recent weeks has me scared to bet them. And Jaron Hall is still a bit of an unknown, even though we did see him a little bit early in the season. Of course, he barely played. He had just a few attempts before suffering a concussion, and then the rest is history. Josh Dobbs comes in and wins the job for a little bit. Then they turn to Nick Mullins, and now we're back to Jaron Hall. So I do lean towards the quarterback advantage with Jordan Love, and the Vikings. I mean, both sides are dealing with some major injuries, but Vikings looks like Jordan Addison could play here this week, but losing Wanham and T.J. Hawkinson as well, two big injuries for them. So I lean towards the Packers, but this should be a pretty fun one here. Both teams are fighting to get into the playoffs and still have a decent chance. But they need to, the loser, the old loser leaves town here. One of these teams will be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss on Sunday night.
Cortland Sutton officially out, Tom. So maybe that Jerry Jeudy prop that I have absolutely no interest in hitting will get posted here shortly. Did you hit anything in the prop market for Packers and Vikings?
No, I didn't. It was a pretty limited market when I was looking earlier today. I do see some more props coming up. I do want to see about Luke Musgrave. I would consider maybe some Tucker Kraft. He's been pretty involved here. I think he's actually playing better than Luke Musgrave, but concerned that he could come back and kind of lessen his role. But yeah, nothing really in this market just yet. This is definitely one of those I'll be looking to take another look on Saturday and Sunday once more props came out. But with all the injury situations at a bunch of the different skill positions, not a whole lot to choose from here.
All right, T-Bro. Well, that'll do.
Happy New Year.
17. Happy New Year to you. We'll be back next week. I mean, we'll talk through week 18 on I know the fantasy content's going to slow down a little bit, but the DFS and the betting content will still be going. T-Bro, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. You, Graham Barfield, and John Hansen will be live on New Year's Eve.
As John would say, biggest week in fantasy football history. I know that's John's famous line, but it really is Championship Sunday. So I hope you can join us. Anybody?
You and I have a tilt going. Oh my!
Yes, I thought I had like 30% chance to win heading into last night. Then Breece Hall checked down.
City, as soon as he caught that stupid fucking pass in the first half, I was like, well, he's going to score because he was wide ass open over the middle. Half my lineup's questionable right now, so that's good. Alvin Kamara picked up an illness, but I'm going to have an interesting go of it. Going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's much more of a coin flip now than it was on Thursday, but should be a fun one. I know you're looking to get off the schneid in the Collegiate League here,
Oh.
and should be a fun one.
The one thing I'm actually happy about is I've already cinched up the most points and at least a second place payout. But it's more of I want the title.
You just want the damn, this.
I want to get it off my chest.
You think about the money, but this is truly one of those where you want the title. So good luck to you the rest of the way.
Same to you, my friend.
Yes.
And we will hey, let's clean up in the books this week. Bye-bye, everybody. Tom will talk to you on Sunday morning. I'll talk to you at some point. Listen in on Sirius. Have a good one.